Chairman, and I'll try not to make that mistake. But thank you for having this hearing, both you and the ranking member. Gentlemen, thank you for being here with us this morning. I got to say that you are tasked with one of the most difficult and most important jobs that we have in this country, keeping our homeland safe. And just appreciate very much all of the efforts that you and the people that you represent that stand behind you make on our behalf. So thank you from the American people. Director Albans, I represent the state of Washington, part of the state of Washington in the central part of the state, which is a rich agricultural region. Agriculture is the biggest economic driver in my district. We pride ourselves in the number of different crops we raise, the variety of different things that we raise. Just in the last couple of weeks, I held a farm bill listening tour. Tried to touch base with as many of my producers as I could in every single county. And the conversation quickly went to probably one of the issues that are top of their mind. It has to do with our labor force and the severe crisis that it's in. One of the solutions that has been is to utilize the H-2A program, the Agricultural Guest Worker Program. And just the last couple of years, H-2A workers, not just in my state, but throughout the country, are record numbers. I think the numbers are nearly quadrupled. I think we're bringing in something this year over 30,000 just in the state of Washington alone. But it's still, interesting, not enough to meet the needs of the agricultural economy. So let me just relate to you some of the things that my producers are telling me. Because of the broadening enforcement efforts by ICE, targeting, the word used many times, even legal workers and illegal farmers, it comes to people are in a place where they think they are being targeted. And I've continued to work with my colleagues in the House of Representatives and the Senate to try to find solutions to our immigration issues. That's on us. And we fully accept that responsibility. We continue to work with the administration and others to fix that. But like I said, growers in my district as well as around the country have said that even with a legal workforce, they're feeling that they are being unfairly targeted and become ground zero for ICE raids because of their workforce, which makes it tougher to grow the food and fiber that we need. So with that premise, the continued targeting of agriculture, it's not going to fix a system that's broken. It's become which has truly become a bureaucratic nightmare. It's not going to address the needs in farm country. You know, if you add in enforcement actions to existing delays in the H-2A program, which is outdated and bureaucratic, along with food and labor shortages already, just more problems are added on to an already dire situation. Many in ag see that ICE is looking for a pretext by targeting agriculture, and that, true or not, I want to express that to you. We can't see another year of crops going unpicked. It's costing agriculture millions and millions of dollars around the country. Now, I fully appreciate the work that you do, and I listened intently to the comments that you made as far as your mission. In fact, I read with great interest the mission statement that's in your biography to identify, arrest, remove aliens who present a danger to national security or a risk to public safety, and I applaud that, and we want to give you every single resource that we can to make sure that you can fulfill your duty and your mission. But we have scarce resources. Could you explain to us what your priority is, and help me understand the dynamic here, the feeling in ag country versus your stated mission of finding those that are a threat to national security and a risk to public safety? Could you talk to me about that and maybe your view? Is the administration's enforcement policies, are we fighting against ourselves when we don't have a comprehensive immigration reform system?
I'll briefly answer your question, then I'll pass it over to Mr. Benner here because he controls worksite enforcement, and I think that's kind of where you were going with that. I will tell you from an ERO perspective, We do targeted enforcement operations. We don't do raids. The individuals that, when we go out to make an arrest, we know who we're going to arrest, we know where we expect them to be, and we also, when we have the available intelligence, also know who else might be there with them. So we exercise all due diligence to ensure that if we're going after an aggravated felon, somebody's got a weapons violation, or an aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, or it's a pedophile, that we make sure that the other individuals that might be present in that residence are not also posing a risk for the safety of our officers as well as the community. So we don't engage in raids. We do targeted enforcement operations. As I mentioned the statistics in my opening, and we could certainly provide you more.
Yes, 74% have criminal records.
74%, no, 89% have criminal records. 74% are actually convicted.
Very good.
And then absent those that are criminals, the other largest bucket of the individuals that we arrest are individuals that are fugitives, meaning they've been through the immigration court process, have had their day in court, have availed themselves of any appellate process they may choose to do so, but at the end of that process, they've been ordered removed by an immigration judge. We're going to have to execute that removal order. And then those who have actually been removed and then illegally re-enter the country, which again is a federal felony and one that we prosecute significantly, and Commissioner McLean's people prosecute that case heavily along the border as well. So I'll leave it at that, and I'll pass it over to Mr. Benner to talk about worksite.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir, for the question. I want to be kind of clear in terms of the fiscal year 18 priorities and the worksite efforts that we've had this year, and we've said clearly that that no industry is off the table by itself. And as a matter of fact, the surge operations that we've done in 18 have not included the agriculture industry at all. We've actually been looking at, in Operation Backtrack, we've been looking at previous audits where we've had some significant findings at that time. So we're looking to make sure that there's not a kind of a culture of illicit employment occurring again. We've looked at, in particular, some of the building and trade industry of the smaller level in communities. One of our goals in talking about this compliance center, this centralized center, is to bring a sense of orderliness and efficiency to the audit process and centralize it for the whole country so that we're actually able to create more of a culture of compliance through audits and fines as opposed to enforcement action. And what we want to do is have a regularized, reasonable expectation, similar to the IRS, that people, business owners, could feel that we're going to look at their I-9 eligibility documents and we're going to audit them. And then from that, at the national level, we'll be able to distill the actual most egregious violators on a national level and not on a town by town or county by county or industry by industry. We can actually look at the national level, like, who are the worst? Because one of the top priorities for us when it comes to criminal investigations is the exploitation of unauthorized workers.
So you're talking about worst employers versus employees, right?
The worst employers that have built a business model on unauthorized workers. And typically, I'll tell you my experience is in many criminal investigations with these types of employers, the unauthorized workers are exploited in terrible ways. Wage earnings, safety, improper training, improper equipment. They're treated completely differently than the authorized workers in all of those areas. And many of them will not come forward to report unsafe working conditions or injuries because there would be the fear of being let go and terminated. So that's one of the top priorities for HSI is the exploitation. I also want to remind, we have to remind ourselves, I think, too, is when we talk about worksite, is the collateral crimes that occur around an illicit employment scheme. Tax fraud, identity theft, bank fraud, the exploitation crimes that I just mentioned, the OSHA violations in terms of unsafe working conditions for employees, and the illicit payment methods that the most egregious employers use to pay the unauthorized workforce in cash. So our goal is to having 10 years of experience kind of in the worksite realm. Our goal is to take that work out of the field offices, create a centralized process that uses smart automation and uses auditors to execute that audit function on a national level and a risk-based model.
All right. Thank you very much. And I've gone way over my time. I apologize for that, Mr. Chairman, but thank you for your answers.